Welcome to the Legacy Leadership Podcast, where we help Christian founder-led nonprofits get funded so that you can lead well, live whole, and leave a legacy. I just got back from a trip to the Dominican Republic. I was helping to run a team of 27 people in doing different ministry aspects of running church services and working in villages, working with one of my partner ministries, and actually two of them kind of coming together, collaborating together, two different partner organizations that I work very closely with, and it was great being able to get them together to be able to collaborate on some things, and we just had a phenomenal week together, serving in the Dominican Republic, being in churches, serving in villages, helping those in need. And there's a couple of things that I took from that week, and I think I might break this up into a few different episodes of some thoughts around fundraising and some things that I do as I'm presenting to people that I didn't necessarily think of off the top of my head, that I do them. They're just things that at this point I do kind of second nature as I'm presenting and I'm inviting people to partner with an organization. And so I thought that I would share a couple of those things with you. The first is that you don't want to present more than one thing at a time. Don't present more than one thing at a time. We ran into a situation on this trip, not really a situation, an opportunity where we had multiple opportunities to present things for people to get involved in. The first was a child sponsorship project. Another was a monthly commitment to one of the organizations. And there was this conversation that I had with one of the leaders about how do we want to present those two different ways that people could get involved in the organizations. And I really felt like it was not going to be the right thing to try to combine them or try to make one presentation. You really want to make sure that when you are presenting something that you're very clear. You have one ask, one thing, one action that you're asking people to take. When you try to mix too many things together, it creates confusion, and a confused mind says no. When we go back to the 5 questions that every presentation should answer, the first is, who are you? What are you doing? Why is it important? What are you asking for? And why does it matter to the person that you're asking? And when you ask, what is it that you're asking for? When you make that ask, when you make that request, make the invitation for somebody to partner with you, you only want to focus on one thing. If you try to do too many things, you end up either giving people an out from responding at all, or you cloud the ask that you're trying to ask, and it just creates confusion for people knowing, like, what action do you actually want me to take? What do you want me to do from this? And so in the case of this presentation, I was presenting child sponsorship, and we made a very clear ask. We made our presentation. We shared about who the organization was, who the leader was. We shared some of the story around that. We shared what we do as far as running schools, and then why it's important. We used the founder's story of him growing up as a child being sponsored in a program, and use that story to express the importance of what child sponsorship does. Why is it important to invest in somebody else's life, and what kind of impact could that have? And then we led into an ask. We invited people to sponsor a child. And then what was in it for them, what does it matter to them, is that they get to be part of planting a seed that will grow a harvest, that this is a seed planted in good soil. The audience that I was presenting to was a Christian audience and really understood the impact of planting a seed. And so I utilize that to help them understand that this is part of them leaving a legacy in the world. Part of them making a difference in the world is that just by this small seed that they're planting, that it's going to have a global impact. It can have an impact in a country or in a community, can have an impact on a future family, whatever that may be, and that they get to be part of that. And so it was a very clear presentation. It was one that I've given hundreds of times around sponsorship and inviting people into sponsoring children. And we got 19 children sponsored on that trip, which was pretty phenomenal. To be able to have 19 monthly commitments to an organization is a really, really big deal. And I'll talk a little bit more about the journey that I bring people on through a week. That's a big thing. It's not just that one presentation that causes people to respond, but there's a lot of other things leading up to that presentation, a lot of other intentional conversations that happen that lead up to that, that help people be ready to respond. But in that presentation, it was a pretty phenomenal response. We had the majority of the team responded wanting to sponsor children, which was really phenomenal. Now, if I had tried to make multiple presentations and said, hey, why don't you also consider monthly support for this other organization? Or would you consider supporting a roof project or a bathhouse project or any of these other things? Then I could have confused the presentation and people would have said, well, what are you actually asking me to do? Are you asking me to give $100, $41? You want me to give $100 but split it between two organizations? Or are you asking me for a one-time gift for a roof? Or are you asking me for a monthly commitment for a child? The more things that I add in there, the more nuances, the more likely somebody is to say no or to not respond at all. So I want to give a very clear ask, which is what I did, and got a great response. What we plan to do is that later on in the week, I wanted to give people an opportunity to partner monthly with the other organization that was part of this trip and give people the opportunity for that. And so I offered to make the presentation, or really, I should say, I requested that I would make the presentation, knowing that this is a strong suit of mine, that I really wanted to present vision. I wanted people to understand where it is that this organization's going, what it is that they're doing. And so I requested that I could make the presentation later on in the week for people to make a commitment to the second organization to be able to support that organization monthly as well. And during that presentation, I felt like we presented the vision really well. I talked about who we are, what we're doing, the things that are happening with this particular organization, discipling other people, investing in other people, helping them to be activated in ministry, understanding how to step into their own callings and giftings, and how the pipeline that we bring people through, this discipleship pipeline, allows people to be at the place where they can do ministry at higher levels. And I talked about where the organization was going, and so who they are, what they do. I talked about why it's important for people to have training and why it's important that this organization is doing what they're doing. And then my ask was going to be for people to make a monthly commitment to the organization. Now, this is a learning opportunity for the leaders who were involved. I had one of the leaders speak up and wanted to invite people into another program that ministry offers, that they offer a program that's another training program. And so one of the leaders, out of like the best place in their heart, wanting to help, wanting to support, says, I really believe that everybody should enter into this other program. Everybody should do this other program, that they should take up these other classes. And it really steered the conversation away from where I was going. People were set up, they were prepared, they were ready to respond. And then this other leader kind of took it in a different direction. And I really tried to salvage it because I know that for this ministry, those monthly partnerships are so important for them, and that we really want to get that stable supporting base for the organization. It's something that we've been talking about for a while. And so I brought it back to, hey, we want to ask people for a monthly commitment, and gave people the opportunity to think about what they might do for that. And then a second leader from the organization stood up and started talking again about this other program, this other thing that people could do, this other training opportunity. And it really turned into presenting multiple things at the same time, presenting a training program and presenting monthly partnership. And when we try to present two things, people will often respond to neither, or they will respond to the one that has the least resistance. And so in this case, we gave people an out by saying, attend this training program or support monthly. And so, what are most people going to do? They're going to say, well, I could attend a training program. That's pretty easy. I'm investing in myself, takes the focus off of the ministry, puts the focus back on themselves and investing back in themselves. And so a lot of people, if they're on the fence about do I support, do I not support, what can I give monthly, they're going to think, well, let me take this other program and then I'm responding to something. And so I tried to reel it back in at the end of the presentation, gave people an opportunity to be able to take an action, made the ask as clear as I could. And I don't actually know what the results of that particular conversation were, but my guess is that they weren't anywhere near as good of a response had we just stuck with the one thing, the one clear ask that we wanted to make. And so that was what I wanted to share today. It's just about being very clear. One ask. Don't cloud your asks with trying to ask for multiple things. Sometimes people will do this, even with prayer. And they'll say, I'm asking that you would partner with us either financially or in prayer. And we want to soften the ask. Those of us who maybe have limiting beliefs around scarcity or around difficulty acquiring money or thinking that there's not enough money to go around, or we don't want to put too much pressure on somebody that they have to respond. And so we try to dilute the ask. We try to make it a little bit less in people's space and say, well, if you can't give, you can pray. Well, again, we're just giving people another option that is an easy out. So instead of them feeling that pressure is not the right word, instead of them feeling that clear call to respond, they can say no. People can always say no, I don't want to respond, or I don't want to support that or anything else. But when I give them something else they can do, it all of a sudden diverts from what they might have done had we just left it that way. And so making sure that we're really clear with a single ask. What is it that we really want people to do to respond? And don't try to make more than one ask in the same presentation. So that's what I want to leave you with today. Remember to lead well, live whole, and leave a legacy.